I never imagined a normal Friday night could shake the foundation of everything I believed about trust. My name is Ethan, 30, and I've been with Sophia, 27, for almost 3 years. We met through mutual friends and clicked instantly, even with the usual bumps along the road. I truly believed we shared the kind of connection you hear about but rarely see. Sophia had this magnetic presence. Her laugh could lift the mood of an entire room, and her smile made even the worst days feel lighter. I loved her fire, her independence, and yes, even the stubborn streak that sometimes drove me crazy. It made life interesting. Then Friday happened around 6 p.m. She sent me a message. "I'm heading out tonight. My ex asked me on a date. I'm going." I stared at the text, frozen. Her ex from years ago, and she was going tonight just like that. It didn't even read like a confession. It felt more like she was telling me she decided to go to the gym. I tried to find a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was about closure. Maybe she needed to settle something within herself. Maybe it wasn't about me at all. I typed replies, erased them, started over, erased those two. Nothing felt right. By 8 p.m. I was home, pretending to look through work emails but unable to focus on anything. Every notification made my chest tighten. Then another message came. A dimly lit photo of her at a restaurant with some guy. "Cheers to old memories," she wrote. My stomach dropped. Not exactly jealousy, but something deeper, heavier. It felt like the ground had shifted. We had talked about boundaries before. Shared laughs, built trust, promised transparency, and now she was sending me a picture that seemed to mock all of it. I wanted to respond with something sharp, something that could wound the way I felt wounded. But I stopped myself. Words said in anger are hard to take back. Hours passed. Around 11 p.m., while I was pouring a drink to steady myself, another notification appeared. "Why is your wedding ring here?" I froze. My ring, the one I kept on a chain around my neck, my little promise, she used to call it. I hadn't taken it off willingly. I hadn't given her any reason to have it. So why was she holding it now? And why that question? Without thinking too hard, I opened my camera. I took a picture of myself at the party I'd ended up attending. Me smiling faintly, another woman laughing behind me, out of focus. The photo wasn't meant to be cruel. It was meant to be honest, a moment that said, "You're not the only one who can rewrite the rules." No caption, no explanation, just the image. A statement. The party carried on as if nothing monumental had happened. People talked, music pulsed through the room, glasses clinked. I drifted through it all, hyper-aware of the empty place where my ring usually rested. For the first time in years, I felt unanchored, both strangely free and painfully aware of what that freedom cost. It's odd what you notice when the illusion of stability cracks. The small movements people make when they think no one is watching, the unspoken stories behind their smiles, and the clarity that comes when someone you trusted crosses a line you thought was solid. I realized that night would mark a shift for me. A boundary drawn not against her, but for myself. Sending that photo wasn't about spite. It was about reclaiming a sense of control, a sense of dignity in a situation that had spiraled without warning. The next morning I woke up tired, emotionally bruised. The house felt too quiet, that kind of silence that can comfort you and accuse you at the same time. I made coffee, sat by the window, and checked my phone. No new messages from Sophia. Just the photo I had sent her. No reaction, no explanation, nothing. A part of me had expected something. Anger, sadness, a barrage of questions. But there was only silence. And the silence said everything. I could hear it more clearly than any excuse she might have offered. She wasn't going to explain or defend or care. And for the first time, I understood that maybe I didn't need her to. By midday, I'd had enough of sitting in the apartment with my thoughts looping endlessly. I put on my coat, grabbed my keys, and walked the few blocks to Liberty Park in Cincinnati. The cold air hit me in a way that felt almost cleansing. As I walked, I replayed every moment. Her casual mention of her ex, that picture of them at the restaurant, the comment about my ring. Each one felt like a clue pointing to a truth I'd been unwilling to acknowledge about what mattered to her and what didn't. I sat on a bench and watched leaves tumble across the path. And there it was, the realization that had been hovering at the edges of my mind. None of this was really about her ex or that party or the ring. It was about my boundaries, about respect, about what I refused to accept anymore. It was about seeing clearly. Later, Jordan, my closest friend from college, texted me after seeing the photo I'd sent Sophia. Saw the party selfie. Bold move, Ethan. I couldn't help but smile. Jordan had always been bluntly honest, grounding me when I drifted too far emotionally. Even that small nod of approval steadied me. That evening, Sophia finally replied with one word, short, cool, detached. Wow. No apology, no explanation, just a response that felt like a shrug. I stared at the message for a long time before deciding not to answer. I didn't need to. The point had been made, and the peace I felt came from my own decision, not her reaction. The days that followed didn't magically smooth out. There were awkward pauses on calls, brief texts loaded with sharp edges, and the occasional social media post that seemed aimed in my direction. But something had shifted inside me. I didn't feel tied to her moods anymore. I felt lighter, steadier, more present. There was a quiet kind of freedom in that. Nothing dramatic or cinematic, just the calm certainty of knowing my worth and refusing to compromise it for someone who didn't respect it. At a friend's gathering one evening, I ran into Sophia. She flashed the same captivating smile she'd always used so well, but this time it didn't pull me in. I returned a polite smile, exchanged a few words, and walked away when I felt finished. She looked at me as if expecting jealousy or longing, but I felt none of it, just calm assurance. That night I thought about everything that had happened. The lessons were unmistakable. Boundaries aren't flexible. You set them and you uphold them. Respect is something people learn, not something you owe them automatically. Clarity is stronger than confusion. Acting with intention, not impulse, is empowering. And peace. Peace is louder than any attempt at revenge. You don't have to create drama to reclaim yourself. Sometimes one quiet, deliberate action says more than the biggest confrontation. The ring ended up back on my desk, not as a reminder of loss or attachment, but as a symbol of choice. That night had been a turning point. The moment I stopped drifting through someone else's decisions and started making my own. Weeks later, I got to know Grace, a colleague from a few projects we'd worked on together. She was clever, funny, and effortlessly warm. And this time I wasn't chasing her approval or validation. I simply enjoyed her presence. Slowly and carefully, I let myself trust again, not blindly but intentionally. Sophia slipped out of the center of my emotional orbit. Not with bitterness, just quiet acceptance. She was a chapter, not the whole story. And moving forward, I realized something essential. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that survive drama. They're the ones built on clarity, respect, and the courage to walk away when someone crosses your boundaries. Months later, when I thought back to that Friday night, I actually smiled. The fear, the confusion, the hurt. They all felt like necessary steps toward who I was becoming. Ethan, steady, grounded, finally free.